Changing chords smoothly. Difficult one. Yeah, well, when you first start to play, this is a beginner's lesson, by the way. It's Wednesday, so nice to see you all. When you first start to play, you will get a chord book, and it'll show you all sorts of different chords and shapes, and it'll show you the strumming patterns underneath, blah blah blah. But they always omit to tell you one thing, and in doing so, they completely cock up your ability to change from one chord to the other. So why would they do that? Well, what we have to do when we're strumming a guitar is we have to break the rule of music. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, before we go any further, download your free paperwork, because we're going to nail this one once and for all. Download your paperwork. It's only a couple of sheets. All right. These are 4 simple chord progressions. Simple progressions, but ones that are used all the time by everybody, from heavy rock to your folk, everything. Just download these. We'll get to it in a minute. And then there's another sheet which I will reveal in a sec, because the second sheet shows you what the trick is, what the technique is. That technique's, call it what you like, call it Steve for all I care. If you don't do it, you'll never be able to change chords. Okay, now before we do any, while you're downloading that stuff, I just want to thank you all for the donations to my little channel, which is, the subscribers are going up and up, which is great. Click that thumbs up, please, if you want to help me out. Thanks for buying me a cup of coffee. There's a thanks button at the bottom if you want to support the channel, because I drink loads of it, and your donations, are keeping it coming. So thank you for that. And share whatever I put up to whoever you like. All the paperwork is mine, and I give you permission to do with it as you wish. All right. So thank you for all the donations and stuff. It pays for all this. Right. Look, changing chords. Let's get serious for a minute. It's one of those things. If you buy the book, it won't tell you what to do. It'll show you the chord changes, but it leaves something out. Okay. Now, the lesson before this, I did House of the Rising Sun, and you may remember it. For those people who haven't watched it, watch it, because it relates to what I'm going to do now. I'll just do a quick recap on House of the Rising Sun and try and recall what the trick was in that. Okay. Trick, of course, was the open third string every time he was going to change chord. Didn't matter what the chord was. Okay, Hilton Valentine was the name of the player. Great guitar player. And every guitarist, every seasoned guitarist, whether we know it or not, and most of the time we don't realise we're doing it, we take fingers off, which in effect breaks the rules of music. Now, when we're strumming a chord, we're hitting all the strings at the same time. In classical guitar, open strings are written into the guitar pieces, so you've got an opportunity whilst playing an open string to move your hand to the next position. Okay, and that enables the player to move around without breaking any rules, because the open strings are written into the music. Now, when you're strumming all the strings together, which is quite an unorthodox way of playing the guitar anyway, from a traditional point of view, in order to get from one place to another, we have no choice but to take our fingers off. Okay, now if we're playing, let's look at a simple progression. Look at sheet number 1. I've given you 4 progressions, and we're going to concentrate on the first one. All right, it's very important that we'll just look at this one, because the same rule applies to all the others. These are your 4 main chord progressions, and I suggest, if you don't know them, you learn them. Thousands of songs. When you play these, you'll hear lots of songs. You think, oh, I've heard that progression. You will have done. Okay. You could play Bohemian Rhapsody with this top one, and you could also play Last Christmas by George Michael as well, which I'll demonstrate. You don't take my word for it. I'll actually show you. Okay. But first of all, let's just stick with what we're doing. Now look at the pluck action here. Here's your diagram of the chord. I've kept it nice and simple, but just going to look at this one for now, and you'll see that the beats are here. Okay. You see your count there, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and your pluck is running underneath 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you will notice on the and, after every bar, after every count of 4, you'll see that the word off is written above the and. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, well, the first change is between G and E minor, and if you look at your paperwork below, you'll see, well, I've got me G. I'm going to do a straightforward bog standard G that most people start off with. As I say, it's a beginner lesson, so I'll use beginnery type shapes. Okay, so we've got our chord G, and we're going to, the first progression, change in the progression goes to an E minor. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now that's the way it would read in a book, and then it would expect you to be on E minor, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for the next chord. So let's try and do it as a book would show you. That changes fast. You can't do it. When you play something with a bit of pace, it's impossible. We need to get from there to there without, because we can't be in two places at once, obviously. And the half beat in between the two chords is often not enough if it's a fast song, okay? So what do we do? And this is the technique and the trick, all right? And if you don't do it, you'll never change chords smoothly. Watch this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See the way that progression works smoothly? Let's do it with a bit of pace. Immediately, you've got an opportunity to get from one shape to the next without trying to do this. You'll never do it. You'll never do it. No guitar player, seasoned guitar player, will ever try and do what I've just tried to do, because we will fail and we will make ourselves look really silly in the process. Now, I keep going on about this because, you know, a lot of you don't know me, but you all know Brian May. Now, you go and watch a video of Brian May when he's talking about House of the Rising Sun, for example, and he'll tell you exactly what I'm saying, that playing open strings, open shape, it's part of playing the guitar when you're playing it like this, all right? When you're strumming away and thrashing away, you have no choice but to take fingers off in order to get to the next shape. So let's look at this progression in a bit more detail. We're going to play a G, then an E minor, then an A minor, and then a D7, and then back to a G. Now you can't hear those. You can't hear those things when I'm bringing my fingers off. But I'll tell you what you would hear. You would hear if I stopped playing in order to change, or I couldn't get there quick enough, you'd certainly hear that mistake. So let's analyse what's going on. So we've just established before that the last beat of the chord G is a 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the half beat, the and that follows the 4, we're going to bring our fingers off. Now, when you do it, don't go like this and make a big meal of it, you know, it's just a little brush of the strings. Just, you know, pull your fingers up, just like that. Don't, as I say, don't make a meal of it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, 2 and 3 and 4 off, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. Now, in order to practice those changes without playing the whole thing, you know, all the beats that come before it, you could be on G for, I don't know, 20 bars. You're always going to come down to where it changes. So, for example, if you look at the chord progression that we're working on, this one, the top one, G to E minor to A minor to D7th, and of course, we'll need to go back to the G. What we will do, we will just practice this, okay? This is a breakdown of that first chord progression. First thing we'll be doing is go from G to an E minor, then from an E minor to an A minor to a D7th, and then a D7th to the G. And the way to practice those things, you know, get to the hub of what the issue is with your changes, is we will play the last beat of the G, which is beat 4. We'll come off, and then we'll play beat 1 of the chord we're going to, in this case, an E minor. We won't do any more than that, we'll just practice going back-a-bam, dack-a-dam, dack-a-dam. See that? That's your first one. Once we're on the E minor, we need to then think about getting to the A minor, alright? So we will do the same thing. We will assume that we're on beat 4, we've played how many bars prior to it, doesn't matter, matters not a jot. We will go from E minor, doing exactly the same thing, last beat on beat 4, fingers off, to A minor. From A minor, we will do exactly the same technique, going to our D7th, which is the next chord in the progression. Now you'll notice that on the A minor, there's a finger on the second string at the first fret, and also you'll notice from your diagram that there's also a finger on the second string at the first fret on the D7th. So we could leave that one on. We don't need to take that off, leave it on. gives us less to do. That's what we would do. So we'd go, okay, down, up, down, down, up, down. I'm taking the fingers off that I don't need. And it sounds nice, that. And then from our D7th, we're going to jump back to our G. Okay. Now, when you're looking at these chords, let's look again. Again, for those people who really are beginners that have never played before, let's look at that G. You'll notice that you always find G played like this to start with, all right? Excuse me. Where you've got your 2 and your 3 here. Now, those same fingers that are as far apart as they can be, they're going to come together to play the E minor. So from being as far apart as they can be on the guitar, when you come off, you'll bring them together, ready to land on the E minor. When they are together on the E minor, you'll say, well, if I look at the next chord, which is an A minor there, these two fingers, the orientation is the same. Okay, so I'll pretend that they're one thing, as if they're glued together here, and I'll play my last downbeat of the beat 4. I'll keep them together, play the upstroke, make the shape in the air. That's always important as well. Above the fingerboard, make the shape. See the way I'm already made the A minor shape, and then I will land it. Okay. In my head, I'm thinking, that finger, I can leave that there. These fingers are going to go there, so I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking ahead. Okay. 4 and 1. And then if you look at this, the orientation of these fingers, it's like the G shape, but squeezed up. So when I come back to the G, I'm going to just, like a flea, I'm going to go ping and go back up to the G, all right? It's a strange analogy, but you know what I mean. Okay. For those who've got dogs, you'll know exactly what I mean. Yeah. All right. I'm going to be itching now. I shouldn't have said that. So let's look at the progression again. So here we are. There's our, just to remind you of what we've got. G to E minor to A minor to D7th, and D7th back to G. So we will practice slowly. And the other one. And then we'll try and play the progression. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, 1 and 2. And when we've done that, what's always a good idea is to put a bit of rhythm to it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, 1 and 2. Nice steady rhythm. Same with the other progressions. So the next one is an A, D, E, and back to D. So A, D, E. Same principle. D, A, 2 and 3 and 4 off D. E. The third sequence. D, G. And if we speed that up a little bit, where are we? Let's speed it up a little bit. Okay, so that's the trick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. Now if you do that, all those the problems that you've been having changing from one chord to the other will be solved. Now like I said to you before, if you're playing something that's really slow, then you probably don't have to do it, but you know, when you're playing it down this end of the neck here, open strings make parts of the chord anyway. Our major part. Look at the G. You know. Look at the E minor. You know, there's lots of open strings going around anyway, and it's part of playing this particular style of guitar. All right, it's the nature of the beast. Okay, so breaking rules, however unsavory that may be for you know, people who study music theory, when you're playing a guitar like this, where you're whacking away at it with a plectrum, it's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. It's the only way we can do it. Okay, if you try to do otherwise, you will fail. All right, you will fail. And you know, and always remember that your listener, your listening audience, they will, you know, they will not hardly notice the occasional fluff with you know, a note on the left hand, but you make a timing error, you get to that chord too late, and even the dog will give you a sideward glance. All right, so it's important. So once again, everything we've done in the past, go back to these things, check the sequences. All right, there are your 4 sequences. I've put at the bottom 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. Okay, and then similarly on there, and then we've magnified the last beat, beat 4. So imagine we've gone 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off, and then we've gone to our next one, and the same for the E minor to the A minor, and so on. Now if you do that, just concentrate on this bit. Don't worry about everything that comes before the chord or after. Just get from one to the other. I always liken it to, you know, like in swimming, a tumble turn for those people that swim, you know, or race. You know, you don't want to be, you can't, you have to sort of and do it like that. That's the way. I know it's been a long day, you know, but that, you get what I mean. You get what I mean. Right. Once again, thank you very much for the tea and coffee fund. I do appreciate it. Now on Saturday, we're going to be doing a song called Dust in the Wind by a band called Kansas, and I want you beginners, people watching this, to join me on Saturday, because again, once I've shown you how to do it, I wouldn't ask you, by the way, if I didn't think you were capable of doing it, because I want to keep you. I don't want you to run off and do something else. So I want you to join me on Saturday for Dust in the Wind, because I promise you, if you can do this, you know, I'll demonstrate now, take my word for it. Okay, if you can do this little pick with just these 2 fingers and your thumb, watch. That's all you got to do. Watch, I'll do it again. 5 and 2, in, out, in. One more time, 5 and 2 together, and then 4, 3, which I say in, and then 5 and 2, out, and then 4, 3 again. Da, da. I'm going to teach you how to play that. What chords do we need to do? Looks a bit too hard for me, that look. Well, I'm going to play a C like this, okay, which you all know. I'm going to take this finger off and we're going to put this one on, so it's going to do that. And then we're going to play an A minor, and then we're going to take this finger off now and again, and we're going to do that. And that's it, okay? And a few other bits beside. But that's something I want you to learn to play, all right? Because if you start playing things like that, and yeah, again, you'll see that where the open strings come in. All right, so join me on Saturday for that. Right, it's time to love you and leave you. Hope that lesson is going to help you out. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Because joking apart, there's nothing worse than being, you know, you're working hard, you're getting through this thing, and then you come to your chord change, and it's like a bloody car crash. This will solve the problem. All right. So watch this video over and over again. Don't just watch it once and you know, go back, check the technique, make sure you're doing it right. Put some rhythm on, you know, get a little drum beat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and play along to it. And as you get better, speed it up incrementally. Incrementally is a good word. Don't ask me how to spell it. Right, on that note, I shall love you and leave you. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.